The chamber smelled of ash and antiseptic. It was a strange combination, burned air and sterile precision, like something ancient had been dragged into a place that didn't understand it. The walls shimmered with soft white light, reflecting off polished metallic surfaces and advanced medical arrays that hummed with quiet urgency. At the center of the room, on a raised platform of crystalline glass, lay the last dragon hatchling. It was small, too small. Its body, no larger than a house cat, trembled with each fragile breath. Once, its scales must have shone like molten gold. Now they were dull, fractured, and fading into lifeless gray. Thin cracks spread across its body like shattered glass, leaking faint embers that died before they touched the air. A soft, broken sound escaped its throat. Not a roar, not even a cry, just pain. "This is the final specimen," one of the alien healers said, their voice clipped and emotionless. "If it expires, the draconic lineage is officially extinct." Another healer adjusted a hovering device, its golden rings spinning as it emitted waves of controlled energy. "We have exhausted 37 treatment protocols. None have stabilized its core." "Attempt 38, a third insisted. "Increase output by 12%. "That will kill it faster." "It is already dying." Silence followed, because there was no argument left to make. At the far end of the chamber, standing apart from a circle of experts, was a single human. Elias Vance didn't belong here. He wasn't a healer. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't even supposed to be in this sector of the station. He was a maintenance technician, someone who fixed broken panels, recalibrated doors, and replaced faulty wiring. He had come because the security seal on the chamber door had malfunctioned. He had stayed because he couldn't leave. Leaning against the wall, arms loosely crossed, Elias watched in silence. His dark eyes tracked every movement, every flicker of failing light across the hatchling's body. "This is a waste of time," one healer muttered, glancing toward him. "Why is the human still present?" "He lacks clearance," another replied coldly. "Remove him." Elias didn't move. He didn't argue. He just said quietly, "Door's still jammed. I can't open it from this side without shutting down your systems." A pause. Annoyed glances passed between the healers, then remained silent and out of the way. One snapped. Elias gave a small nod and returned to watching. Another surge of energy flooded the hatchling's body. The machine above it pulsed brighter, its hum rising into a sharp, almost desperate whine. Golden light poured into the tiny creature, wrapping around it like a desperate attempt to force life back into something that was already slipping away. For a moment, the cracks in its scales glowed. Its chest lifted a little higher. Hope flickered. "Stabilization at 2%. A healer reported quickly. "Continue." The light shattered. The glow vanished. The hatchling's body went limp. A long, flat tone echoed through the chamber. "Core failure," one healer said quietly. "Respiratory collapse." No neural response. Another voice, softer this time. "Time of death." The hatchling's claw twitched. Everyone froze. "Wait," Elias said under his breath. The claw moved again. Slow, weak, but real. "That's impossible," one healer whispered. The machines flickered uncertainly, as if they too were struggling to process what they were seeing. The hatchling's chest jerked. A shallow breath dragged its way into its lungs. Then another, and slowly, painfully, its head lifted. Its eyes opened. Faint light flickered within them, dim, fading, but still there. Alive. The healers stared, stunned. "No recorded species has recovered from total core collapse," one said. "This defies biological law." "Then observe," another replied quietly. "Because it is happening." The hatchling's gaze drifted across the room, past the machines, past the glowing instruments, past the gathered circle of alien experts. It didn't linger on any of them, not even for a second. Its eyes locked onto the human. Elias stiffened slightly. "Hey," he murmured, unsure why he was speaking at all. The hatchling let out a faint, trembling sound. Not pain this time. Something else. Something softer, almost searching. And then it moved. Its tiny claws scraped weakly against the smooth surface of the platform as it tried to push itself forward. Its body trembled violently, barely able to support its own weight. "Stop it," one healer snapped. "Do not move the subject. It will worsen systemic failure." "It lacks motor control," another added. "This is involuntary." But it wasn't. The hatchling dragged itself forward, inch by inch, ignoring the voices, ignoring the machines, ignoring everything, except the human standing at the edge of the room. Elias pushed himself off a wall, confused. "What is it doing?" he asked. "No idea," one healer replied, their tone tight with unease. "Remain where you are," another warned. "Do not interfere." But Elias had already taken a step forward, not out of defiance, not out of bravery, just instinct. The hatchling reached the edge of the platform. It slipped, hit the metallic floor with a soft, fragile sound, and kept crawling. The room had gone completely silent now. No one moved. No one spoke. They just watched. The distance wasn't far, but for the dying creature, it might as well have been endless. Still, it didn't stop. Finally, it reached him. The hatchling collapsed at Elias's feet. Its breathing was shallow, faint, on the edge of disappearing again. Up close, it looked even smaller, even more broken. "Why me?" Elias whispered. The hatchling shifted weakly, lifting its head just enough to press it against his hand. Elias froze. The room held its breath. For a single, fragile moment, nothing happened. Then, warmth. A pulse of heat surged through Elias's hand. Not burning, not painful, alive. The hatchling's cracked scales flickered, a faint glow returning, and every machine in the room screamed at once. The chamber erupted into chaos. Alarm screamed, sharp, metallic, relentless. Lights flickered between sterile white and warning red as every system in the room struggled to process what was happening. Energy surge detected. Unknown frequency. This isn't in any database. Disconnect the human now. Elias didn't move. Not because he was brave, because he couldn't. The moment the hatchling pressed its head against his hand, something locked into place. Not physically, but deeper, like a connection forming beneath skin and bone, threading into something he didn't even know existed. Heat spread up his arm. Not burning, not painful, but powerful, alive. "What is this?" Elias breathed, his voice shaking. No one answered, because no one knew. The hatchling's body began to glow. At first, it was faint, just a soft shimmer beneath cracked scales. Then the light grew stronger, spreading outward like molten gold filling fractures in glass. The cracks began to close. "That's impossible," one healer whispered. "Cellular regeneration is accelerating. No, exceeding all known limits." "Energy isn't coming from the machines," another said. "They're not outputting anything." All eyes turned to Elias. He swallowed hard. "Don't look at me," he muttered. "I'm not doing anything." But that wasn't true. He was. He just didn't understand how. The heat surged again, this time stronger. It climbed past his elbow, into his chest, wrapping around his heart like a second pulse beating out of sync with his own. The hatchling let out a soft sound. Not pain. Relief. Elias instinctively pulled his hand back. The glow vanished. The hatchling's body spasmed, its breathing collapsing into shallow, broken gasps. A weak, desperate whimper echoed in the chamber. "No, okay," Elias said quickly, panic rising in his chest. "I didn't mean." He placed his hand back against the hatchling's head. The effect was immediate. Light returned, brighter, stronger. The cracks in the hatchling's scales sealed completely, molten gold flowing beneath the surface, like liquid sunlight. Its breathing steadied, deepened. Its tiny claws flexed with newfound strength. The room fell into stunned silence. "This isn't treatment," one healer said slowly. "This isn't technology," another added. The oldest among them, a tall, silver-skinned figure whose presence commanded quiet authority, stepped forward. Their voice, when they spoke, was almost reverent. "This is a bond." The word hung in the air like something forbidden. "No," a younger healer snapped immediately. "That's mythological. Dragon bonds are primitive folklore, stories told before we understood their biology." "Do you understand it now?" the elder asked calmly. The younger healer hesitated. "No." "Then do not dismiss what you are witnessing." Elias barely heard them, because something else was happening. Images. They flooded his mind without warning. Not like memories. Not like thoughts. Like experiences. Fire filled the sky. Endless skies of burning orange and gold, torn apart by wings that blotted out entire suns. Dragons, massive, radiant, unstoppable, soaring through storms of war. And beneath them, humans. Elias gasped, staggering slightly but unable to pull away. What is this?" he whispered. He saw battles. Not chaos, coordination. Humans and dragons moving as one. Every dive, every strike, every burst of flame, perfectly timed, perfectly understood. Not commanded, shared. He saw a human standing beside a dragon larger than a city, their hand resting gently against its scales. No fear, no hesitation, only trust. He felt it. That connection, that bond. They weren't just animals, Elias said, his voice barely audible. The chamber went still. The elder healer turned toward him slowly. "What did you say?" Elias blinked, struggling to focus. "They weren't just creatures," he repeated, louder now. "They were partners." Murmurs rippled through the room. That contradicts all known historical records. Dragons were classified as uncontrollable entities. Highly volatile, highly dangerous. Elias shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "That's not what I'm seeing." The images shifted. Darkness. War. Not the kind he had seen before. This was different. Desperate. Terrified. Galactic fleets filled the void. Ships of countless species, united under a single purpose. Weapons charged. Aimed not at each other, but at dragons. They feared them. Elias whispered. He saw dragons falling from the sky. Heard their roars, no longer triumphant, but anguished. Felt the bond shatter as humans were torn away. Separated. Silenced. They didn't go extinct, Elias said, his voice breaking slightly. The hatchling stirred beneath his hand. They were abandoned. The word echoed like a wound reopening across time. "No," one healer said sharply. "That is speculation." "Then explain this," the elder snapped, gesturing toward the hatchling. It was no longer dying. Its body was steady now. Stronger. The golden light beneath its scales burned brighter with every passing second, no longer flickering, but growing, becoming. Its eyes opened fully, not dim, not fading, bright, alive, and focused entirely on Elias. The connection tightened. Elias sucked in a sharp breath as something new pushed through the bond. Not images this time, not memories. A voice. Soft, weak, but unmistakably real. "You came back." Elias froze. His heart skipped. "What?" he whispered. The voice trembled, fragile but filled with something ancient, something that had waited far too long. "You came back." Elias swallowed hard, his throat suddenly dry. I don't even know you," he said quietly. The hatchling shifted closer, pressing against his hand, and the voice answered, "I know you." The lights in the chamber dimmed, not by command, not by failure, but as if something deeper had reached into the station systems and silenced them. Only the glow remained, golden, alive. It pulsed from the dragon hatchling, steady now, strong, no longer flickering like a dying flame, but burning with quiet, undeniable power. And at its center, Elias. No one spoke. The healers, once so certain, so clinical, stood frozen at the edge of something they no longer understood. Elias barely noticed them, because the world inside his mind was unraveling. The visions came faster now, clearer, sharper. He stood in a sky filled with fire, not watching, living it. Wind roared past him as something massive moved beneath his feet. He looked down. Scales, gold and endless. A dragon. His breath caught. "I'm on it," he whispered. The dragon beneath him surged upward, wings tearing through clouds as fleets of warships filled the sky ahead. Energy cannons charged, glowing with cold, merciless light. They weren't aiming randomly. They were aiming at him. "No," Elias muttered. The dragon roared, and he felt it. Not just the sound, but the meaning behind it. Not rage, not fear. Defiance. Then, fire. A wave of golden flame erupted from the dragon's jaws, colliding with the incoming barrage. Ships vanished in seconds, swallowed by something far more ancient than their weapons could comprehend. And Elias, he knew exactly when it would strike, exactly where to move, exactly what the dragon would do. Before it did it, "We're connected," he breathed. The realization hit like a shockwave. Not controlled, not commanded, shared. The vision shattered. Elias staggered in the chamber, nearly collapsing as the connection snapped him back into reality. The hatchling pressed closer to him, steadying him in a way no physical touch should have been able to. The healers stared. "What did you see?" the elder asked, their voice low and urgent. Elias looked up slowly. "They weren't just partners," he said. The room held its breath. "They were one." Silence. "That's not possible," one healer said quickly. "Neural merging between species of that scale would require—" "It wasn't merging," Elias interrupted. His voice was different now. Stronger. Certain. It was understanding. The word landed harder than any argument. "They didn't need commands," Elias continued. "They didn't need control systems or synchronization tech. They felt each other." The elder healers stepped closer, their eyes fixed on the hatchling. "Symbiotic cognition," they murmured. "No," Elias said quietly. "More than that." The hatchling shifted again, its small body pressing firmly against his hand, as if reinforcing his words. "They trusted each other," Elias said. The room went still, because that word, that simple, fragile word, explained everything they had never been able to understand. The vision surged again, but this time, they changed. Darkness, not war. Aftermath. Elias stood on a shattered world. The sky was broken, scarred by the remnants of orbital bombardments. Smoke choked the air. The ground was cracked, burned, lifeless. And everywhere, silence. He turned and saw them. Dragons. Fallen. Massive bodies lay scattered across the wasteland, their golden scales dimmed, their flames extinguished. Some had fallen mid-flight, their wings twisted beneath them. Others had collapsed, protecting something that was no longer there. Humans. Gone. Elias felt it. The absence. The void where the bond had once been. "What happened?" he whispered. The answer came, not in words, but in feeling. Betrayal. Fear. Decision. The galaxy had seen what humans and dragons could do together, and they had been terrified. "They didn't lose," Elias said softly, his voice shaking as the vision bled into reality. The healers leaned in, hanging on to every word now. They were separated. A murmur of disbelief spread through the chamber. "That's absurd," one healer said. "No coalition could overpower both species simultaneously." "They didn't have to," Elias replied. His eyes lifted slowly. Dark. Knowing. They just had to break the bond. Silence fell like a blade. The truth settled into the room, heavy and undeniable. "They turned humans against dragons," Elias continued. "Cut them off. Isolated them. Made them forget." The elder healer's expression darkened. Historical records do show a sudden shift in human integration policies during the Draconic collapse. "Because it wasn't a collapse," Elias said. "It was a purge." The word echoed. Cold. Final. The hatchling let out a soft sound. Not pain. Not fear. Grief. Elias felt it surge through him, raw and ancient. Thousands of years of loss, of waiting, of being alone. His hand tightened gently against its head. "I'm here," he said quietly. The hatchling's glow brightened in response. Across the room, the healers exchanged uneasy glances. "This changes everything," one whispered, "if what he's saying is true." "It is," the elder said. All eyes turned to them. They were staring not at Elias, but at the hatchling. "It chose him," the elder continued. "Not randomly, not instinctively." Their voice lowered. "It recognized him." Elias frowned slightly. "That's not possible. I've never seen a dragon before in my life." The hatchling shifted, and the voice returned. Clearer now. Stronger. "Not this life." Elias froze. A chill ran down his spine. "What does that mean?" he whispered. The hatchling's eyes burned brighter. "You forgot." The chamber went silent, and for the first time, Elias felt something deeper than confusion. Recognition. Something buried. Something waiting. Something about to wake up. The air in the chamber changed. It grew heavier, thicker, as if the very atmosphere had begun to bend under a pressure no machine could measure. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. Darkness swallowed the room. Only one thing remained: golden fire. It radiated from the hatchling, no longer faint, no longer fragile. The glow had deepened into something richer, hotter, more alive. It pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and growing stronger with every passing second. And Elias, he stood at its center. He could feel it now. Not just the warmth, not just the connection. Memory. Fragments pushed through the walls of his mind, no longer distant visions, but something closer, sharper, personal. A hand, not his, but it felt like his, resting against scales far larger than the tiny hatchling before him. A voice, his voice, but older, stronger, echoing across endless skies. Together. Elias staggered slightly. I remember, he whispered. The hatchling lifted its head, its eyes, bright now, burning with molten gold, locked onto his. You promised. The word struck like lightning, and suddenly, everything broke open. Elias gasped as the final barrier in his mind shattered. He was no longer in the chamber. He stood on a battlefield. The sky was alive with war. Dragons soared through storms of fire and energy, their massive wings tearing through fleets of warships. Explosions lit the heavens like dying stars, fragments of metal raining down onto a world already burning. And beside him, a dragon, not small, not weak, colossal. Its scales shimmered with the same molten gold now glowing from the hatchling. Its presence was overwhelming, ancient, powerful, alive in a way that defied explanation. Elias, no, someone else wearing his soul, stood with one hand pressed against its side. Not commanding, not controlling, connected. They're afraid of us, Elias heard himself say. The dragon's voice answered, not in words, but in feeling. Good. A surge of heat pulsed between them. Power, trust, unity. Then, the sky changed. The fleets stopped fighting each other, and turned, all of them, toward the dragons. No, Elias whispered. Weapons charged across thousands of ships at once. A unified front. A single terrible decision. They chose fear. The dragon's presence echoed. The first barrage struck. Light consumed everything. Dragons fell. The sky burned. And the bond shattered. Elias screamed and snapped back into reality. He collapsed to one knee in the chamber, gasping for air as the memory tore through him. The hatchling pressed against him immediately, its warmth steadying him, grounding him. I saw it, Elias choked out. I was there, we were. The chamber trembled. A deep crack split across the metallic floor beneath them. What is happening to the structure? One healer shouted. Thermal readings are spiking beyond containment. This entire level is going to collapse. But the elder healer didn't move. They were staring at Elias, at the hatchling, at the bond blazing between them. It's not collapsing, they said quietly. Another crack echoed through the room. The walls began to glow faintly, as if absorbing heat they were never designed to withstand. It's reacting. Elias slowly pushed himself to his feet. The hatchling stepped back. For the first time, it stood on its own. No trembling, no weakness. Its wings, small, fragile before, unfolded slightly, stretching as golden light traced every edge. The air around it shimmered with heat distortion. It's fully stabilized, one healer whispered. No more than that. The hatchling took a step forward, and the temperature in the room surged. Metal groaned. Systems failed. Glass panels cracked under invisible pressure. It's generating energy, another healer said, panic creeping into their voice. But there's no measurable source. There's a source, the elder said. They looked at Elias. You. Elias blinked. I'm not doing this on purpose. I know, the elder replied. The hatchling turned its head toward him, and for a moment, everything stilled. No alarms, no movement, just the two of them. Then, the hatchling spread its wings fully. Fire ignited, not wild, not destructive, controlled. A perfect, golden flame curled around its body, rising into the air like a living thing. It didn't burn the room, not directly, but the sheer intensity of it warped everything nearby. The healers stepped back instinctively, fear in their eyes. This is what they were, one whispered. Elias shook his head slowly. No, he said. His voice was calm now. Certain. This is what they are. The hatchling looked at him again, and this time, it didn't feel small. It felt endless, ancient, waiting. Elias took a step forward. The flames parted around him, not touching him, not harming him, welcoming him. They weren't dying, he said softly. The words carried through the chamber like a quiet truth, finally spoken aloud. They were waiting. The hatchling stepped closer. The bond between them flared brighter than ever before. And somewhere deep beneath the station, something answered. A low, distant rumble. Not mechanical, not artificial. Alive. The elder healer's eyes widened. That signal. Another tremor shook the chamber. Stronger this time. It's not coming from here, they whispered. Elias felt it too. Through the bond. Through the fire. Through something far older than the station, the galaxy, even memory itself. A call. And an answer. The hatchling's voice echoed in his mind. Clear. Strong. We are not the last. Elias slowly lifted his head. Far beyond the station, beyond the stars, something ancient had just awakened. And this time, it was not alone. The station shook. Not from failure, not from damage, but from something waking beneath it. Deep below the metal and circuits, beneath the layers of artificial structure, something ancient stirred, as if the planet itself had just taken its first breath in thousands of years. Alarms returned, louder than before. Seismic activity detected. No, this isn't tectonic. Energy signatures are rising from below the station. The healers rushed to their consoles, panic finally breaking through their controlled composure. This facility isn't built over any known geothermal source. What is that? The elder didn't move. Their gaze remained fixed on Elias, on the hatchling, on the fire that now burned like a newborn sun between them. It's answering, they whispered. Elias felt it too. Not as sound, not as vibration, as a call. It echoed through his chest, through the bond, through something deeper than thought. Ancient, patient, awake. The hatchling stepped forward, its golden flames intensifying as it lifted its head toward the ceiling, toward the sky it couldn't see. They hear us. Elias swallowed hard. Who? He asked. The answer came not in words, but in feeling. Countless. The chamber trembled again, harder this time. The metallic floor beneath them split with a deafening crack, forcing several healers to stumble back. Evacuate, one shouted. This structure is no longer stable. Seal the chamber. Contain the anomaly. No. The word cut through the chaos. Calm. Unshaken. Elias. Every eye turned to him. He stood at the center of the fracture, golden light reflecting in his eyes, the hatchling at his side. For the first time since he had entered the room, he didn't look like he didn't belong. You can't contain this, he said quietly. The floor gave way. A section of the chamber collapsed inward, revealing something impossible beneath. Not machinery, not rock, a cavern, ancient, vast, and glowing. Golden light pulsed from below, brighter than anything in the room, spilling upward like a rising dawn that had been buried for millennia. Heat surged into the chamber, forcing everyone back except Elias, except the hatchling. The elder healer stepped forward slowly, eyes wide with something between awe and fear. This planet was never empty, they whispered. Elias felt it before he saw it. Movement. Slow. Massive. The light below shifted, and something opened its eyes. Two enormous orbs of molten gold ignited in the darkness beneath the chamber. The healers froze. No one breathed. No one moved, because they understood, in that single moment, just how wrong they had been. Dragons had never gone extinct. They had gone to sleep. A deep, resonant sound rose from the cavern. Not a roar. Not yet. A heartbeat. The hatchling stepped closer to the edge of the broken floor, its small body glowing brighter in response. They waited. Elias moved beside it. For us, he finished. The massive shape below shifted, rising slowly, its body unfolding like a mountain coming to life. Scales the size of ships caught the light, reflecting in waves of gold and fire. "They're waking up," one healer whispered. Across the chamber, systems flickered back to life, not stabilizing, but reacting. Signals burst across every network. Long dormant channels lit up. Encrypted frequencies, older than most civilizations, suddenly active again. "They're not just here," another healer said, their voice trembling as data flooded their console. "They're everywhere." Elias felt it. Through the bond. Through the fire. Across the stars. One by one, lights awakened in the darkness. Planets. Moons. Asteroids long dismissed as lifeless. Each one stirring. Each one answering. The elder healers slowly lowered themselves to one knee. Not out of fear. Out of understanding. "We were wrong," they said quietly. The others followed. One by one. Not to Elias. Not to the hatchling. But to what they represented. A truth buried for too long. The hatchling turned to Elias. Its form no longer seemed fragile. No longer small. In its eyes burned something vast. Ancient. Unbreakable. "We begin again." Elias exhaled slowly. A strange calm settled over him. Not confusion. Not fear. Purpose. "What happens now?" he asked. The answer came with fire. The massive dragon beneath the chamber rose fully into view, its wings unfurling with a force that shook the entire structure. The golden light intensified, filling every corner of the room, spilling into the corridors beyond. Across the galaxy, others did the same. The age of silence was over. The hatchling stepped forward, flames trailing behind it like a banner. Now, its voice echoed, no longer weak, no longer alone. "They remember." Elias looked out through the broken chamber, past the rising fire, past the awakening light stretching across the stars. And for the first time, he understood why the galaxy had been afraid. Not of dragons, not of humans, but of what they became. Together, the bond flared, and the first flame of a forgotten age rose again. This time, it would not be extinguished.